Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Berea Nation. My name is Amaury Garcia, and I'm right here with you as usual, giving you tips, giving you principles, giving you elements that you can use when you are studying your Bible, so you can have a more meaningful and deep Bible study. Now, in this video, we're going to be studying poetry in the Bible. Poetry is a very important part of the Bible. It makes up to 33% of the Bible. You have several books who are considered poetic books. Among them, you can find Proverbs, the book of Psalms, Songs of Solomon, and Ecclesiastes. Now, you also have books where you have poems within them, like in the book of the prophets. Sometimes the prophecies that God gave, they are written in a poetic form. So we really need, as good Bible students, we really need to understand how biblical poetry works, how it's designed, so we can understand it better. Now, the idea of poetry in the Bible, it's that it works differently than narrative. In the previous videos, we have been studying narrative and its elements. Now we will study poetry. Poetry, it's a literature style that invites you to experience the text as you read it. In the narrative, you have somebody telling you, relating you events or things that happen, and they use a very simple language, straightforward language that you can understand. Now, in Bible poetry, it works differently because the Bible author wants you to experience as you read the text. Now, for that, we're going to see a very simple example. And we're going to go to Exodus chapter 14, verse 21. And we are going to see the report of the same event, but in different ways. So you can really see what it is that I'm talking about. And it reads, Exodus 14, verse 21. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and all that night the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land. The waters were divided. So that's pretty simple. It's relating to us when the Israelites went through the Red Sea, when God did the miracle of dividing the sea so they can pass. That was the narrative version of it. Now we're going to read the poetic version that you can find in the same book of Exodus, but this time on chapter 15, verse 8. And it reads as follows. By the blast of your nostrils, the waters piled up, the surging waters stood up like a wall. The deep waters congealed in the heart of the sea. So you can see what it is that I'm talking about. You see the difference between the narrative and the poetic version. You see how it's a vivid image in the poetic version where you really experience and it appeals to your imagination. So that is the goal in Bible poetry. You experience the text. And Bible poetry works different than the poetry that you and I might know nowadays. In today's poetry, you have certain rhythm to the verses. You have rhyme. The verses rhyme, but that is not the same pattern that it's followed in the Bible, because you know the Bible was written many years ago by people who live in a different culture than ours. So we have to understand how they thought and how they did things, so we can really understand better any text that we are reading in the Bible. And that is true for Bible poetry. And I'm gonna give you very simple examples of how they have crafted the poems, the poetry in the Bible. So basically in a Bible, in poetry in the Bible, you have basically one verse, one text, one simple text that is composed of two verses, two lines. One first line establishes the idea, and the second line completes that idea. That is one method that they use. You could also have one line establishing the idea and the second line deepening the thought expressed by that first idea, by that first line. You have another method into which you have the first line establishing the idea again, and the second line creates a contrast between the idea expressed in the first line and the idea expressed in the second line, completing the thought but creating a contrast between those two ideas. And we're going to see a very quick example so you can comprehend that. And we're going to go to Psalm 52. And it reads, Psalm 53. And on the first verse 4 reads, "My heart is in anguish within me. The terrors of death have fallen on me." So there you have the first line establishing an idea, and you have the second line complementing that idea. Now we're gonna see the second example. I would hurry. Sorry, I got that wrong. Sorry. The first example is on the first verse, that it reads like this: "Listen to my prayer, O God. Do not ignore my plea." That is the first example where the first line establishes the idea and the second line completes that thought. Again, let me read it to you again. "Listen to my prayer, O God. Do not ignore my plea." Now we have a second example where the second line is deepening the idea expressed by the first line. And this is verse 4. "My heart is in anguish within me. The terrors of death have fallen on me." So you can see how the second line deepens the idea. Now we're gonna see the contrast of idea. It's on verse 8. "I would hurry to my place of shelter, far from the tempest and the storm." So you see now how poetry in the Bible works. It has a different order, and especially when you read the book of Psalms, you really need to take your time and ponder and savor what you are reading, because that's the whole idea of Bible poetry. We need to read it again and again and again and again, because each time you read it, you go deeper into the text and you can see what a wonderful things God have, hidden within the text. We as good Bible students should take our time when we are reading the Bible. It's really, really important that we read our Bibles in a place where we don't have any distraction, and we can focus on the text. And also we need to pay attention to these type of things: literary styles, if it's a narrative, if it's a poem, because if we understand those, then we will have a more meaningful Bible study. Again, this is the 5th video of this series of videos that we are making. If you haven't seen the previous ones, I suggest you go to our YouTube channel, Berea Nation, or in our Facebook page, same name, Berea Nation. You can find the previous videos, so you can follow along the whole idea that we are trying to express by making these videos. Thank you very much for being with me in this short video. God bless you and have a blessed day. Bye bye.